Hello everyone! Welcome to this very unexpected stream. Glad you could make it. Let me just double check if everyone can hear me. And if not, just give me a little shout in chat. As I'm setting up the rest of Photoshop here. Right, okay, so we have a couple of people in chat already. That's good. Right, okay, let's get started then. First of all, welcome for being here. I know it's a bit unexpected to stream on a Tuesday, but here I am. Due to popular demand, a lot of people have been asking me to make a quote-unquote little tutorial on how to draw different horse breeds. Now, before we get started, I just want to make clear, it's not going to be a tutorial on how to actually draw horses. It's more going to be me giving you tips and tricks on, when you've drawn a horse or you're trying to create a horse character, how to make that particular horse look more like the breed you're trying to represent. So I'm going to go over a couple of very distinct looking breeds, breeds that I very frequently see people draw, such as like the standard horse. I'm going to start off with that. We'll be covering a few draft horses. I will be covering ponies as well. Maybe we'll do one or two other breeds in between. And I will also be talking about little foals. Because a lot of horse breeds don't really look all that different from each other, apart from the color, I've just picked out a couple of breeds that really are very distinct looking, and in which you can very clearly see how different they are, just anatomically. Because let's be fair, ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking at a Mustang, most people wouldn't know that that's a Mustang, or most people wouldn't know the difference between an Appaloosa and any other horse if it wasn't for the color. So, you know what I mean, right? Right, okay, let's get started then. Just open up Photoshop. I have my white background layer and just a clear layer on top. And I think we should just start off with drawing a regular standard horse. So we all know, we're all reminded what a horse looks like. I'm just going to do a rough sketch first, and then we'll get more into it. So, starting just fine. So, back to the horses. I am sketching out this regular horse with plain features, and we'll be discussing him in a bit. Now, people, keep in mind, right, I have been drawing horses for quite some time now, and even so, right, I still have my little horse figurines and my horse books all laying next to me for reference. Because even though you know how to draw a horse, it's just good to look at an actual horse as you're drawing. Right, that kind of looks like a standard, like a nice little standard horse, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm sorry, you didn't see anything earlier, but you should be able to see everything now. I'm just going to clean up this horse just a little bit. And the reason I want to start off with a regular horse is everything else, every other horse breed will start off with this basic horse shape. Okay, so I think one of the big issues that a lot of beginning artists have is that a lot of people start off with drawing dogs and cats because that's easy, right? Everyone has a dog or a cat, or most people have, and everyone likes dogs and cats. But a lot of people make the mistake of making the belly of the horse. I've even done it myself, I see. This tuck, and we call this a tuck, which goes from the lowest point of the rib cage up to the pelvis. They want to make it too sharp. And if you make that too sharp, that horse is going to look like a dog. Right? So we have the big shoulder here, and I like to accentuate this tiny little area there. It doesn't have to be that accentuated, but that just shows where that massive shoulder blade sort of ends. And the same goes for the hip. So we have this little dip here where that big muscle goes, and it goes slightly up and over the back there. And that gives it a little bit more definition. Now, the rib cage of a horse comes all the way down there to the deepest point. It goes all the way up here. And I do like to draw like a little bit of a line there, because this is going to be a bit of a sports horse. You also have a massive muscle going from the shoulder to the lower back. And if your horse is very, very lean, you can also add these three or four like tiny little accents that show where the rib cage is. I mean, if you really accentuate it, the horse can look very skinny, or the other end of the spectrum, very, very buff. Now that shoulder muscle, we have two big muscles here. So dividing that in the middle, that one comes down here, and the other one slightly overlaps so that the upper arm of the horse is slightly tucked underneath there, which gives it that little V shape there. Right, we have the elbow here. Right. There we go. I think that's a good standard horse. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this one a bit to the side as I'm drawing the other breed, so you can always have a little bit of a comparison on which aspects to accentuate. But first, I think it's time to draw this horse as a little foal. Now, I'm no expert on foals, not by a long shot. But I'll move this one to the side a little bit. And maybe we'll just start off with the face of this foal. And a foal's head is a bit wedge shaped. So we have the back of the jaw here, right, which is going to be this shape. But foals, to make them look younger, their heads are quite rounded at the top. They have big brains you still have to grow into. And then we can have the snout, which is this part here. Notice with the adult's head, like this shape is quite flat. And I like to give the foals a bit of a rounded dome head. Now, coming to this lower jaw, we're going to extend this line a lot further on the foal. And we're not going to make the chin quite as pronounced. It's going to be very rounded, very nice little shape there. Now the snout itself is going to be more or less the same, as well as the nostrils. Although we do like to make the nostrils slightly bigger than on the adult horse. Same goes for the eyes. Nice, big, rounded, curious eyes. And yes, my horses do have eyebrows. I think that gives it a lot more expression with a lot less lines. Another tip for drawing foals is on the adult's face, I like to accentuate that cheekbone right there. But this one comes down on my adult horses. But with foals, I like to make that a lot softer. It's going to be a lot more horizontal, much more in line with that line of the snout there. Ears are going to be more or less the same, even though a lot of foals do have a lot more hair in their ears. So it's a bit of a diamond-esque shape. And because these foals don't have as much muscle as the adult horses, I like to draw these two little lines here. So this top part, right, is where the muscles of the jaw are going to connect to. But because these little foals are only drinking milk, that muscle hasn't developed yet. So I think those two little lines gives them quite a young look. And then we have the neck here. Neck comes down there, a bit wrinkly here. And of course their mane is very soft and usually very curly. I like drawing foals because the mane just sticks out at the top and it doesn't obstruct any nice anatomy. Right, just going to clean up a little bit. I'm sorry my hand is a little bit shaky. It's less to do with me, but more to do with the fact that I am streaming and it causes a bit of lag on my Photoshop, which is why my line work is not as nice as it should be, but I hope it gets the point across. Now again, with these foals, they still have quite a bit of hair on their snout. I think that's very cute, and I do think, in a way, that makes them look younger. So there we go. That's going to be our little foal's head. Now let's have a look at the body of the foal. So if I'm going too fast, if you have any questions, feel free to stop me. I'm trying my best to keep an eye on chat. But if you're someone who is watching this after I've re-uploaded it, if you have a question, just put it in the comment section and I will get back to you. Okay, drawing foals compared to the adult horse. I'm just going to quickly do a face here. So it's a dome-shaped head with a straight nose and a very small mouth, but with big nostrils and a big eye. We have the ears coming up here and the neck coming down here. Right. Foals are indeed, as someone called them in chat, very gangly. So what we're going to do is we're just going to accentuate a lot of these features. So the back of this adult horse is relatively straight. It goes up slightly towards the tip of the hip, but on the foals it's even higher. There we go. Again, this muscle, going to accentuate that a bit more to make them look a little bit more gangly. And their shoulders are, in comparison, quite a bit bigger than on the adult horse. Now, when it comes to the legs, I usually don't accentuate this muscle that I talked about earlier on the adult horse. Just going to give like a little bit of an accent there. That leg's coming down, but then their knees or their elbows. No, this is an elbow. That's a wrist, isn't it? Is it a wrist? Well, I'll have to look it up. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm so sorry. I'm not an expert. These are going to be way, way bigger because they still have to grow into it. But then their legs are very narrow. Same on this side. Very narrow legs and big, big knobby knees there. Their belly is going to go up, but it's going to be a lot softer than on the adult horse. And when it comes to the back legs, again, the heels quite accentuated, but very thin, narrow legs there. And before I forget, you have that little scruffy curly mane up here, and same for the tail. Tails on a foal are always short. They're not born with long tails. There we go. Let's have another look. Yeah, that's looking quite nice. I'd even say, if you're thinking that these legs are too long, proportionate to their bodies, I would say make them about 10% longer. That's my tip on drawing foals. If I just turn this one around, and we'll put it next to the regular horse, we can have a little bit of a comparison. And there we go. Just going to move this head out of the way. Yes, that's looking quite cute. Oh dear. That's not what I wanted. There we go. Okay, now we have a good comparison. So you can see how that shoulder comes way further out than on the adult horse. We have the dome-shaped head, which marks it as a foal. We have the short tail. We have the big muscular hindquarters and a big shoulder. And the big, we'll call them, yeah, reverse elbows, reverse ankles, reverse wrists. Knees over here. A very thin and narrow hooves. Just going to adjust this one a bit. There we are. And as I said, this line here is going to go like that. There we go. It is a very long child. A very long child indeed. Oh, my lines are indeed very, very shaky today. So now that we've covered the standard horse, the regular average horse, this can turn into a paint, this can turn into a Mustang, it can turn into anything depending on the color you give it. But there's nothing wrong with that, obviously. I am going to move these ones down just a little bit. Actually, I'm just going to extend my canvas so we can have a nice little comparison later. So now that we've done a regular horse and the full version, I think it is time to cover the ponies. When it comes to ponies, there are two breeds I want to mention. The first one is the Little Shetland pony, which I think most people know of. And the other one is the miniature horse, or the Falabella. It's a different breed. Miniature horse is not the same as a Falabella, but I think there are two very distinct differences between a Shetland and a miniature horse. And one of these things is, I'm just going to get my brush again. There we go. If I start to draw a pony, I'm going to have like a small ear and a very big bushy forelock. Right. Quite a straight nose. A very sturdy, quite a sturdy cheek. Very sturdy neck as well. Big mane. Big mane comes down here. This is going to be my reference for a Shetland pony. I think the Shetlands, compared to the Falabellas, compared to the miniature horses, even the American Shetlands, is that the regular Shetland pony is a lot sturdier than a lot of people think. These strange looking, slightly misshapen ponies that you sometimes see on Instagram or YouTube or wherever, most of the time they're called like miniature Shetlands, which is a bit ridiculous because they're already quite small to begin with. But that's just overbreeding, really. A regular Shetland pony should be very sturdy, very compact. It should almost be as wide from the shoulder to the hocks as it is tall. As you can see here, I'm trying to get these proportions right. And I often see them with a very, very thick forelock and a very thick mane and tail, compared to, of course, the other ponies that I mentioned earlier. Right. I think that's about right. Now these Shetland ponies, I very frequently see them with just some light feathering as well. And feathering is the hair at the bottom of the hooves. Well, not the bottom of the hooves, at the bottom of the feet. We'll be seeing a lot more feathering on the draft horses. But I think, well, a lot of horse breeds do have some light feathering. It is said to protect them from, rough terrain. And indeed, some light feathering is very beneficial to them, or for most breeds that originate from quite a barren sort of landscape. But we'll touch more. We'll touch up more on those feathers when we're talking about the draft horses. So compare this one, the little Shetland that we have, to I'll have to put them on a different layer to move it. There we go. If you compare this one to this regular horse, just look at the proportions, right? These legs, and especially from the foals, are way longer compared to this one. The back is a lot shorter, but then the hindquarters are a lot bigger on these smaller ponies. So you can't just take this general shape, make it smaller, and say, oh, that's going to be a Shetland. The neck is generally a lot thicker as well. And the ears, very, very small. Now, of course, if you want to draw your own character and they don't have a big mane, of course, sure. I mean, go for it. It's your character, right? This is not like a definitive guide anyway. It's more, to give people some inspiration, I suppose. So we're going to bring this Shetland a bit further down. And now, right next to it, I am going to draw a miniature horse or a falabella, and you can see what I think are the most distinctive features or comparisons between the two of them. So we're going to start off in the same way of the jawline here, right? Smaller mane in general, very thick still, but smaller. But the falabella or the miniature horse, a lot of times I see their faces slightly dish-shaped. And with dish-shaped, I mean this dips down a little bit from between the eyes. So this is going to be the eye here. Towards the nose is going to have like a curve to it. Compare that to the Shetland, which generally have quite a straight nose. The rest of the face shape is going to be more or less similar. Nostril there, cheek there. Again, these horses, or these ponies, I should rather say, have very small ears, but quite a thick neck. To answer a question in chat, yes, absolutely. After these ponies, I will be touching on the Shires, the Clydesdales, the Belgian Drafts. Don't you worry, we will get to them, as they are also my favorite breed. So again, they do have quite a lot of mane, but definitely not as much in comparison to the Shetland. Quite a sturdy build as well, but again, not as sturdy as the Shetland. So you'll see a lot more comparison between these miniature horses and the regular horse than between these two breeds. I accentuated this. It's not a hump, is it? It's like a shorter back on the Shetland and the big muscle of the rump. And I'm going to soften that just a little bit for the falabella. They do just generally look a bit more elegant, I'd say. They kind of look more like how a lot of people would expect these ponies to look. Again, a nice thick tail, but a lot straighter, a lot more kempt in general. There we go. I do have quite a bit of lag on my Photoshop, so I do apologize for the roughness of these drawings. But if you have any questions, just feel free to ask, or if something's not entirely clear. And you'll also notice that I, without even realizing, added a lot more roughness to this Shetland pony, because these Shetlands used to be living out in, well, the Shetlands, and they needed like a very thick fur, very thick mane as well, to just keep them warm and just keep them protected from the elements. As where these horses, well, these little miniature ponies, falabella, I think they're Spanish or Italian, if I'm not mistaken. So they do come just from a very different sort of climate, and therefore just didn't need all that extra fur. So I'm going to add this second leg here. There we go. Especially with horses that have quite a thick rump, you might want to add like a little line here because you have two big muscles on either side of them. You don't have to, obviously, but it just accentuates the fact that they are still muscular and not just fat. Right, and then we have a little pony lineup. Oh, before we start off with the draft horses, there is, of course, something else that I will need to cover for these little ponies. and that is a little Shetland foal. So we've done the foal of the regular horse up here, and I'm going to try and see if I can make a nice little comparison with a Shetland foal. I am just going to have to move this one aside again because it's truly getting in the way. There we go. Let's just move this one here. Someone in chat asks, could you do a standard bred pacing? I am not going to get into different poses, not on this stream at least. Most of these poses are going to be side profiles because, as I said at the beginning, there's not going to be a whole lot of difference between these different horse breeds from the front. I think it's easier to see them from the side. I'll probably do like 1 or 2 close-ups or like different poses, but I mean, if people are really interested, I could do another stream about those. Right, okay, so what was I going to do? Oh yes, I am going to draw a Shetland foal. Now, prepare for cuteness, everyone. Just keep the things in mind that we discussed for the adult Shetland pony, which is, I like to start off with the jawline for some reason. So we're going to have very distinct jaw. We're going to have, just like with this foal here, going to have a dome-shaped head because that makes them distinct looking from an adult. Just now it's quite short. The general shape of them, relatively the same. Nostril there. Eyes, a lot bigger than on the adults, even though, sorry, I cheated a little bit, you can't see the eye here. But extremely tiny ears. Very cute though. And because the adults generally have a very thick mane and forelock, there we go. We are going to do the same here. I just love that the little foals have like curly manes. There we go. Quite a short, thick, muscular neck and a big shoulder. Very short back here, but a very big rump. Going to come down here. I'm going to try and keep the legs as short as possible. There we go. And instantly you can start to see how much these little ones are starting to look like My Little Ponies. And yeah, it's no surprise that they were modeled after these miniature horses because they are absolutely adorable. Very thick, short little tail. And there we go. I mean, I kind of lied to you guys. I have to admit. I lied to you because I said when I was drawing this one, the regular foal, I said if you think the legs are long enough, they need to be about 10% longer. I lied because the complete opposite is true for the little Shetland foals. Their legs are so short and it makes them so cute looking. And there we have it. I try to keep these similar drawings, like the two foals. I'll try to keep them next to each other, so you can have like a little comparison. But the general anatomy, general idea still remains because you still have that muscle coming up and over the back, even though on this one it's a lot, the backs are just a lot shorter. Just the proportions are just different. And I think let's just give them a little eye. On these tutorial streams, I generally don't pay a lot of attention to the eyes, which is a shame because, I mean, look how cute they are now, instantly. Not that they weren't cute before, but... There we go, Mama. Have a look at your cute little foal there. Cool. Okay, so that's a little ponies covered. And do we want like another pony drawing? Or are we good? Actually, I kind of wanted to do another little pony drawing. So let me just zoom in again. And I'm going to move this one to the side a little bit. Yes, I'm going to do one more pony. A pony foal, to be exact. Because this upper one, I mean, that's an extremely cutesy version, isn't it? So maybe we can draw a little Falabella pony. It's going to be a bit more elegant, a bit more realistic, I suppose, compared to the extreme one up there. But we'll have some similar things to cover. So we're going to draw a jawline, and as I mentioned earlier, the Falabellas are a bit more elegant than the Shetlands, so it's going to be rounded off. They have like a dome-shaped head and big eyes, and then their snout is slightly dish-shaped, but the rest of the mouth is relatively similar. And all foals have a wedge shape to their head. Very small ears and a cute curly mane. We'll have that muscle coming down there. Shouldn't be that distinct though, but there we are. We have the shoulder here, and maybe this little foal is going to be slightly older, and its proportions are starting to stretch out just a little bit. Yeah. So that back leg is going to be bigger than on the regular horses. It's going to come down here. The heel, still quite distinctive looking, coming down to a relatively narrow, elegant looking hoof. We have that muscle there, but I'm not going to accentuate it that much because this is still a foal, and foals, even though they are strong, they're not muscular. They're a bit gangly. Oh, it does look a bit bald. I'm so sorry. Let's give him some whiskers to cover him up. Poor little thing. Now, little foals are cute, but I think they're the cutest when they're just a couple of days old. Newborns are. They're quite weird looking, aren't they? No. Short, curly little tail. And this back foot coming down here. Not great. This paw or this front hoof is looking more like a dog's, so I'm going to change that. Change that a little, at least. Alright, well, it's not my best work, but if I select this one, make it a little bit smaller, There we are. And moving this one. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted to do. Put this one on a different layer. And put him next to this one over here. There we go. That's a little bit better. Oh, people in chat are making fun of the bull, the bald looking foal. Well, you know what? Just for chat. There we go. There we go. It is shiny. Ta-da! Already bald at 6 months old. Well, try 6 days or even 6 hours. And it's a bit like baby elephants, isn't it? When they're just born, newly born, they aren't very pretty. Someone in chat asks, would drawing giraffe foals be similar with elongated legs, or is their anatomy different? I know their bellies are relatively shorter and more round, but specifically the legs. The basic anatomy of a giraffe's leg compared to a horse leg is very similar, if not the same. It's just the proportions that are different. I really need to look at the giraffe now to make a good comparison. But yeah, their basic anatomy is indeed very similar. Although I do think that giraffes are more closely related to deer, I think. But don't quote me on that. I just do one more little thing for fun. Because people in chat are being very mean to me, and you know, you will get what you deserve. So just for the people in chats, right, just for Honk specifically, yes, I'm looking at you, Honk. Here he is. Here he is in all his bald glory. Are you happy now? Are you happy that this is what I created just for you? There we go. Just hang on 1 second. I need to put some lights on in my room. There we are. Oh, there's one more thing that I forgot, which is it's tears. It's crying, everyone. It's crying because this poor foal is born completely bald. There we go. Right. Okay, let's just move this abomination aside. And now I think it is time to move on to the big draft horses. I am going to need a lot more room for these guys, so I am going to extend my canvas a little bit more, and just make room for the big boys. Oh dear. Just bear with me 1 second. I think, yeah, just let me move it aside just a little bit more. Because last stream I was aware that I might have been drawing a bit too small. I'm trying to fix that now. Right, making another layer. Let's get started. So the draft horses, I'm going to start off with a quarter-wood standard draft, and then we'll have a comparison to the regular horse. I again like to start off with the jawline. Jaws on these draft horses quite big, quite muscular, and if I go up to the face here, the general shape of their nose is, they have a Roman nose, is what they call it. So compare that to the falabella that we drew earlier. This one has a nice arch to it. Some people call them Roman noses, some people call them ram's noses. I usually call them ram's noses. And I think that's one of the distinctive features of many draft breeds. Draw their ears. Their ears generally small compared to the rest of their bodies. And their hair, or their mane, their forelock, that's what we call this one, relatively short but very thick. There we go. That's the back of the neck there. And most of it is covered up by a mane. And what I've always loved about these big draft horses is that their mane is, in a lot of breeds, quite wavy. I should say not curly, but wavy. I'm going to try and accentuate that here. Very thick, powerful neck. There we are. It's looking nice. And of course, a massive shoulder to go along with it. Their backs, because they're not ridden, you usually see a lot of draft horses with, I don't know what we call this shape, like a, it goes down and then up again. English is not my first language, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't noticed, so please bear with me. Hindquarters, incredibly muscular, and in a way, proportionally, kind of compare it to the Shetlands. Now, this muscle we are going to accentuate because these are big boys, and like their legs coming down, and we'll keep that very muscular shape to them. Now, a lot of draft horses, the Belgians, the Shires, the Clydesdales, the Tinkers, the Frisians even, have generally or are drawn with a lot of feathering. And as I mentioned earlier, the feathering is the excess length of hair on their feet. Now, a bit of feathering, like I mentioned, does benefit the horse. It protects them from rough terrain and protects them while they're working. However, right, and I know this is a bit of a controversial topic because a lot of people think that the heavy feathering in the Clydesdales, in the Shires, in the Tinkers, even with the Belgian drafts, it's man-made. It is excessive. These horses do not need heavy feathering. And to be fair, it does cause more issues than what's trying to solve. So I know a lot of draft horse owners who just keep these legs nice and trim. And some people will call it blasphemy because, you know, why on earth would you shave this beautiful horse's heavy feathering? But the truth is, a lot of moisture and a lot of dirt gets stuck in these feathers, and unless you are the type of person who can provide like very frequent care for these horses, and if your horse isn't standing in a field that has a lot of mud in it or a lot of dirt, yeah, you can have some heavy feathering, but it's just easier to maintain if their legs are nice and tidy. Now, just for aesthetics reasons, I love the heavy feathering, but in practice, I can understand why a lot of people would opt out of it. And it's mainly the moisture that gets stuck in there. The skin can't breathe, and it's causing them quite a lot of skin issues on their feet. There we go. So I modeled this one after the Belgian draft. I think most people would assume that that's going to be like the standard when we talk about draft horses. I myself have worked with 4 of them in my career, and they are incredible, absolutely incredible. They are gentle giants, as some people have pointed out. But they're so immense, they're so elegant as well for their size, which is quite remarkable because these horses usually weigh more than a car. No, it's looking a little bit scared now, but maybe it's for a reason. Maybe it just saw a plastic bag somewhere. Okay. And because their bodies are so much heavier than the regular standard horse, the proportions of their legs doesn't look the same as with the regular standard horse that we started off with. You see what I mean? This hind quarter here is proportionally a lot bigger and a lot heavier than the one over here, which makes it look, right, that their legs are shorter, but in actual fact, they're not. It's just wider. If I were to draw this one with a wider hindquarter, that's going to distort your view. The knee comes up here. Their bellies are generally just a little bit lower, that's true. Now, the feathering of these draft horses, which is one of their distinct features. My Photoshop's a little bit stuck. Oh, no, it isn't. There we go. Now, the feathering can just be minimal, like I accentuated here, or it can go all the way up to the heels. And especially in breeds like the Shire, like the Clydesdale, even the Tinker, that's going to be one of their main features. And it can even be so heavy that it will cover up the entire hoof. So if I just make a new layer, and I am going to just quickly pick another color, so it's going to be easier to see. Right, the right layer. So the back feathering will remain the same. And that's going to cover up the entire thing. And it's going to look like they're wearing socks. Now, I am very sorry to disappoint some people, right? Because I am not going to cover the Frisian. The Frisian is what I would like to call like a light draft. It's a bit heavier than the regular saddle horse, but it's not as heavy as these Belgian drafts or the Shires or the Clydesdales. And a lot of people seem to really, really like the Frisians. But in all fairness, I just don't think they look distinct enough to cover on this stream. I'm sorry, guys. Really sorry, but you know, if you just take this horse, like this standard horse, and just make it just maybe a little bit heavier, and make their mane a bit longer, color it black. I mean, to me, that's a Frisian. Please don't leave me hate comments for that. I'm sorry, Frisian lovers. I'm very sorry. But in my opinion, they are a little bit overrated. Controversial, I know. Right, so we have a adult draft horse. So now, of course, it is time for the little foals. Let me just very quickly check on something. Let me just make some room first and foremost. I'm so glad you can just expand your canvas in Photoshop. Such a pleasure. Right, okay, let me just have a quick look at my earlier sketches. I am trying to be a bit more prepared this time. I had a list of the horses that I had to cover, or wanted to cover at least. I'm trying to make some sketches beforehand so I don't get lost during these streams. Right, okay, so back to the drawing board. I'm going to try something slightly different for this foal here. So start off with the jawline, a dome-shaped head. Please don't call him bald. His Roman nose. And of course the big, adorable eyes. Ears still relatively small for these drafts. Someone in chat asks, when will you begin the animation process? I want to see at least one fully animated horse. Well, it's not going to be in this stream, let me tell you. But I do have a couple of things lined up for future streams, for future videos as well. So yeah, if I have something interesting to show you guys, I will absolutely cover them on stream. But this is not an animation stream. This is a tips and tricks stream. I'm sorry to disappoint, but keep an eye open and there will definitely be another animation stream. Someone else pointed out, if your canvas gets too big, you may start to lag. Well, I have been lagging for... although it's not too bad currently. But I have been lagging ever since I started streaming. Photoshop is the only thing that I have open currently. But that's the way it is, I suppose. I think it's also because I wanted to record it in HD, because I want to upload this stream to the channel later. A slightly compact version of it at least, so people can easily rewatch it. And I think the high definition recording is what's causing this lag. Someone in chat said, I'd like to see a fully animated horse cartoon. I love talking animal movies. Well, you and me both. And well, it's... I have been trying to do some lip syncing. I've been trying to do some smoother animation as well, but I mean, it takes time. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of skill too. And well, it's small baby steps at a time, really. I'm just trying to trying to learn all these things myself, and so far, actually, looking back at it, I have been very happy with the process, with the progress, I should say. So maybe one day, who knows, there will be a fully animated cartoon, but I don't predict it's going to be in the near future. Have I ever watched Mr. Ed? I haven't. I'm afraid to say I've never even heard of him. Could chat maybe elaborate and teach me what Mr. Ed is? I mean, obviously, I've seen Spirit, I've seen BoJack Horseman, I've seen My Little Pony. Not all of it, but enough of it. There we go. Right, okay. Just looking back at my little sketch here, not entirely happy with what I conveyed, and I'll tell you why. Right. So my idea was to draw a little draft horse foal. And I think that these things need to be a lot bigger and a lot ganglier. Need to stick out just to the point where you're thinking, come on, nature, that's why would you do this? To be fair, looking at any horse, I'm thinking, oh, nature, what were you thinking? There we are. Someone said, BoJack Horseman being in the same vein as Spirit and My Little Pony is hysterical. Well, I didn't mean it that it's in a similar vein. I just meant it's horse content, isn't it? What other horse content is there? There's not a whole lot out there, is it? There we go. Oh, I think that's cute. I think that's very cute. Just zooming out a little bit again and showing what we've done so far. There we go. Right, I think that's looking really nice. I'm just having a look at my notes to see if there was anything else I wanted to cover. Not really, I don't think, unless someone has a question or maybe wants to point out something. So someone explained, Mr. Ed is a 1961 sitcom where they had a talking horse as its main character. They used peanut butter to get the horse to move its mouth with some voicing over it. That is absolutely hysterical. That is so funny, and I will absolutely be checking that out. Mr. Ed. Oh dear. Actually, let's just do a few more sketches because I'm just looking at the time here, and I have been streaming for a bit over an hour already. So I'm not going to do a whole lot more. And maybe, oh, actually, people, if you have some requests or things that you really want to see for the next stream, because I'm trying to not go over an hour and a half maybe, just to make it more manageable for everyone. Please, by all means, let me know in the comment section. Let me know in chat if you're still watching the live stream. And yeah, I'll be happy to make another stream covering all your questions and your requests as well. Someone in chat asks, have you ever drawn an akal tiki? I haven't. I do know what they are though. And just to explain it to non-horse people, the Akalteki is, I think it's an Arabian horse breed, or from one of the neighboring countries, and it's, I think those are the ones with like the ears pointing inwards, or are they the ones with the? No, the Arabians are the ones with like the weird face shape, aren't they? I think the Akaltekis are the ones with like the weird ears. If someone can just correct me on that. Someone asked, could you maybe go over Arabians? Yes, actually, I can. We can do a few more minutes, can't we? I'll draw this putting this random head here. There we go. Oh, the Akaltekas are from Central Asia. Okay, so it wasn't too far off then. Oh dear, what have I done? What have I done here? So yes, we will be going over the Arabians. That's a good idea. I still have a bit more time. Let me just double check the stream quality. There we go. I'm just trying to organize my notes here. Oh dear. Oh dear, what am I doing? Okay, so I have to admit, I do know what a Arabian looks like. I don't have a lot of experience drawing them, right? So maybe I could just start off with the head first, because I think their head shape is the more distinctive looking feature of these horses. Right, so have quite a sharp jawline that goes up quite a bit. Just going to sketch out the eye here. I think what most people think of when they think of Arabians is that dish shape. So it's probably going to be quite extreme here. They have a dish-shaped head, which means if you take a dish and you just hold it in front of them, that shape is going to be almost perfectly round. Again, quite extreme. They're not really supposed to look like that. Well, the actual Arabians shouldn't. I believe their mouth are quite small in comparison because of that weird shape. Go. And they always look very concerned. Just going to draw an eyebrow here. I also know that Arabians, they generally don't have they don't have a thick mane because they do come from such warm climates. So this is the sort of mane that I'm going to give it. And most of them that I see online are quite grumpy. So that's an ear going backwards, and that's an ear going backwards. Right, that's a general shape for an Arabian. Someone in chat says, I think recent horses have been more extreme than they had around a century or so before. Absolutely. Because some people thought that this shape of face is pretty. And to some degree, it is, I suppose. But just like with many horse breeds, dog breeds, I should say, people just want more and more extreme looking features. And I could even accentuate it more, really. But because of that weird shape that they now have to their faces, their neck also looks quite swan-like. Now, of course, most of these people who start showing these horses, they want to show off this weird feature, and they make sure that this horse just lifts its head in a particular way, holds its neck in a particular way. I can even make that snout or that mouth even a bit smaller, I think. I'm going to clean up this eye here. Quite skinny horses too, so I'm just going to add these lines here, as I did with the foals, just to show off that this is not a muscular horse. Oh dear. Photoshop, what are you doing to me? And then that neckline goes down here. But yes, the original Arabian already has like a bit of a dish-shaped face, but definitely not to this extreme degree. Like I've even made him look sad. Please don't breed him anymore. There we go. Another way to make a horse's face look sharper than usual is to have like a very sharp nose bridge here. Can even push that one up a little bit more. There we go. And like people pointed out, they're from I think Central Asia, Eastern Asia. I already forgot. But the climate's generally very warm, so they are not going to have any feathering. They are going to have quite thin manes. And they're going to have a very short and very luxurious looking shiny sort of coat. I know a lot of people in the horse showing industry tend to rub, I think it's coconut oil, on their fur to just make them look even shinier. Right. There we go. That's a very poor, sad looking Arabian. There we are. I mean, you kind of feel sorry for him, don't you? And let's just do another very quick sketch here. Go. And try and guess what sort of breed this is. It's one that we've covered before, or covered earlier. Just gonna see how long it takes people to recognize these general shapes. There are no wrong answers, but if you get it wrong, I'm sorry, I will cry. What a sweet face, someone points out. Yes, he does. He does have a sweet face. There we are. And say hello to our sweet little Shetland pony. Ta-da! Oh, no wonder things are pixelated. Oh dear. Well, that's what happens if I don't zoom in wide enough. I was just thinking, actually, I think someone pointed it out. I might just clean up a couple of these sketches, and I might just use them if people have like a little request, maybe. Like if they have a horse that they know and they want me to color these ones in, feel free to let me know. Send me a message, send me a little link, and I'll see what I can do for you. There we go. Now, before someone starts complaining, look. He's not bald anymore. Ta-da! Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to be enough for this stream now. I hope I taught you a few tips and tricks. Like I said, if you still have any questions later, feel free to just ask them, and I will absolutely get back to you. Thank you all for coming. If you have any requests for the next stream, things that I can cover, I know it's been a little bit basic with all these side profiles, but yeah, I did my best. And I will hopefully see you guys in the next stream. Bye everyone. Bye.